welcome everybody to the what is it, 4 recap?
Week four recap.
For the Real Talk Ravens podcast, where we are going to be recapping the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cleveland Browns game from week 4. So yeah, it was obviously a very much easier win with the news before the game coming out with Deshaun Watson. Basically, his shoulder injury was much worse than they had been saying all week. And so he comes out, throws on Sunday morning on the field, and they basically made the decision to shut him down and start DTR. So that was huge for us because our record versus rookie quarterbacks is pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that any Browns fan that wants to sit here and complain that they weren't at full strength, don't at me, bro. How many times over the last 3 years have we played you guys at half strength or worse? And you know what? It's embarrassing because most times we'll still beat you. Last year, though, I specifically remember the game in Cleveland where we had Tyler Huntley and we just looked awful and we couldn't do anything. I mean, Bengals, Steelers, Browns, shut the F up about not having your players.
Yeah, you can't really say anything to us about injuries because we've had it worse than anyone in the entire league. And
Still dealing with it right now.
Even if Deshaun Watson plays on Sunday, we dominated that game so much on defense. He would have been probably hurt. He probably would have hurt his shoulder a lot worse than what it was.
Right. It's probably best he sat off with their bye week next week as well. I think he'll come back and he'll be fine.
Yeah, I guarantee you DTR is hitting the ice tubs hard today.
But let's get something straight. Through 4 weeks, the Ravens are 3-1 and 2-0 in the division. Everyone else has got a losing record in the division outside of Pittsburgh, who's 1-0 and about to be 1-1 next week. The Browns are 1-2 and the Bengals are 0-2.
Yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better week for the Ravens with everybody in the AFC North losing besides the Ravens.
Right.
Just going over the game, the injury wise, we did lose Morgan Moses to I think shoulder injury. They haven't said
it was
any
announced
more.
To be short-term. It was announced to be short-term today.
Okay, because when I saw Harbaugh's presser today, he just said they were still waiting on the MRI results, but it didn't seem to be long-term. So it could he could be out for a week or so, but hopefully not. Worley got hurt and left the game. And then we did get news today that David Ojabo could be done for the year, depending on the decision he makes. Kind of like I think Marcus Williams had to make a decision on whether or not to get surgery. Ojabo, I guess, is going to have to make a similar decision for his knee. So what that tells me is it's probably a meniscus, because meniscuses you can usually play with, and maybe it's only like a partial tear, something along those lines, if I had to guess. And then
I hate to see this because he did like 3 games last year.
I know he's not had it easy with injuries, but who has on our team? Anyways, Tyus Bowser and Keaton Mitchell are now officially able to return off the IR. And Harbaugh said that they are in the realm, that was the words he used, of coming back. So it could be this week, it could be next week. And he said the same thing
keep in mind. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say he said the same thing with Marlon Humphreys. So
I was going to say, keep in mind with the Keaton Mitchell situation, Melvin Gordon's been elevated 3 times, which means he can't be elevated off the practice squad anymore. He either has to be signed to the 53-man roster or cut. I'd see us, especially if Keaton doesn't play next week, would probably just, I don't know, what would that look like? Would Keaton be on the 53-man roster coming off IR? Would we downgrade him to practice squad? Would we, how would that work?
So the decision would have to be made. We'd have to I guess, release somebody off the 53-man if we wanted to keep Keaton Mitchell on the 53-man. Or we would have to send him to the practice squad. And like you said, Melvin Gordon has been bumped up so many times, he cannot no longer be put on the practice squad and elevated. He's already reached his max. So I think what would happen is we would have to cut him. And I think someone would pick him up. I don't think he would come back to us.
Well, I was going to say, if we cut him and we were able to get him back with that clock of 3 starts reset,
I'm not sure on those rules, but that would make sense to me. Now, I just don't see – he actually has had some production in the past few weeks, so I don't see us dropping him and somebody else not picking him up.
Right. Well, who would be? I guess that's probably it for Melvin Gordon, man.
I don't know.
Baltimore.
We've got a decision to make when it comes to that, because maybe we carry 4 running backs. I don't know.
Unless we decide to cut freaking Ojabo at this rate. Just kidding.
Well, IR could be something.
Yeah, that's true.
Did he get? Do you know if Ojabo was already been put on IR, or is he still just?
I think he is on IR right now.
Okay, I thought maybe we had seen that last week or so.
Yeah.
But then you also have Tyus Bowser, who could basically take Ojabo's place now.
Right, which would be nice to see Bowser come in and play, even if he doesn't. I'm looking for him to come back and get some reps this week. I think we leave him out of the lineup for the London game. I think that's just too much for someone coming right off of injury. And then we have him ready to go for the Lions game. Same with Marlon. Like we ease them back in this game. They get some reps in, so they're not cold coming into that Lions game. But then making the trip, if we can avoid it, maybe they just rest another week, because this London thing, I'm not necessarily concerned with them going out and playing in London. I'm more concerned with them going out, playing in London, and then coming back to play a game immediately the next week.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's just initial reactions of the game. I would say personally that was one of Lamar's best throwing performances that he's had since his beginning of his career. Even in 2019, I think that's one of his best, just overall accuracy, making difficult throws, and just his command of the offense. And then defensively, I would say we were just dominant, and it started with this mentality that we were like the underdogs or something. And that mentality was definitely on display for everyone to see, I thought.
And here's something. I hear a lot of Browns fans and just a lot of people saying like, well, hey, you guys had a lot of turnover. You guys were dominant on defense. You guys didn't really play the real quarterback. I would say any defense that considers themselves to be a championship caliber defense should be doing that to rookie quarterbacks, especially 5th round rookie quarterbacks. So I love the fact that we were dominant. We had 3 turnovers and we sacked him a bunch and we're all on his face and he did absolutely nothing. Because that's how the Bills defense would play against them. That's how the Cowboys defense would play against them, So I take no shame in saying that we destroyed a rookie quarterback and then dominated their, quote, number 1 defense.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and move into offense. I think they said this is the first time Lamar has had multi-rushing and passing touchdowns in the same game. So he had 2 rushing, 2 passing. I think the best thing that I saw was we were able to establish the run game versus, like you said, the quote-unquote number 1 defense in the NFL. We had 131 yards rushing, and you don't see that often against the number 1 defense.
Now, Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith both did play pretty big roles when they were on the field, but Zadarius Smith got knocked up early. I don't remember if he came back in or not. Myles Garrett got knocked out late, didn't really come back. He left the game in a boot. That doesn't mean that they didn't have their impact. Almost every time they blitzed, even without a blitz, pretty much anytime they wanted to get to Lamar, they were in his face. Our backup, who was it? Falele, whenever Moses went out, made it very easy for them to penetrate that right side. And then already Makari on the left side is not a starter. So
I actually thought Falele played pretty well. I just think there were a few times that he just got outmatched. And it was just it was like clear as day that it was like, holy crap, he got killed on that one. And Lamar suffered because of that. But I mean, that's to be expected for a guy that's hasn't played all year. He's a second-year guy, never really had much playing experience. So
one thing I love to see, though, was even with all that pressure, Lamar really played pretty mistake-free football. He got the ball out. He did have 2 fumbles, one where he recovered and one that was just a stupid fumble where he was late, I guess, putting it in the running back's arms, and then it just hit high and kind of fell out of his hands. And then the other one, I'm trying to remember, I think it was just like he got hit weird or something. But I
don't remember. I don't even remember the other one. I only remember the botched handoff.
I thought the first one was earlier. It was like he dropped it but then landed on it or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering. Honestly,
He's fumbled so many times; it's kind of hard. They kind of blend
yeah,
together.
they kind of do. But I love, especially after the Colts game, I love seeing the fact that we're able to get the ball out really fast like we had been able to against the Bengals. I was afraid that might be something that didn't really carry over anymore, and it was just like a one-off week thing. A one-off week 2 thing. But I'm glad to see that we could do it against the Browns defense that really did put pressure in Lamar's face. I mean, this is the kind of you look at other quarterbacks that get praised all the time. You see Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. What do they do well? They have the crazy arm angles where they can throw the ball sidearm. They have the escapability. They have the IQ to read the defenses, and they get the ball out like that. What has Lamar been doing? What on that list has Lamar not been doing this season? I mean,
Yeah, I
his
think
arm angle and been great. He can almost throw it in any situation, no matter what's kind of around him. He's getting it out fast. He's obviously escapable. He's calling the plays at the line. Like if he needs to change something, he's changing something. I would say the only thing that makes him different than any of those other three quarterbacks is that maybe he turns the ball over a little more than any of them do.
fumble wise, definitely
Fumble
fumble
wise.
wise.
Josh Allen has a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, I feel like Lamar kind of took that next step this week, just with his overall command and I've not seen him throw the ball so accurately outside the numbers as he did this week, especially like in the red zone too, where those windows are so much tighter. I mean, he fit the one almost into Nelson Aguilar perfectly, and Nelson Aguilar just didn't tap his other foot in. Otherwise, that would have been the touchdown instead of the next play throwing it to Mark Andrews over 2 defenders, perfectly placed. Right. I mean, it was back to back, and he was doing that all game long. He really didn't miss a beat. His incompletions were pretty much either dropped or throwaways pretty much.
Yeah, and good again to see Zay Flowers having some pretty big catches. He had that one on the sideline that was really nice. He had he drew another pass interference that was called this time, which was nice. Man, when you have a receiver that's just drawing fouls constantly, whether they're called or not, that's just a good thing to have on your team because eventually they will get called, and in big moments they will get called.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Like, personally, I always hated playing against like Julio Jones or OBJ. Was just like or AJ Green. They would always find a way to get an OPI or a DPI against you on like the last drive of the game with like a minute left and set up their team for a really good situation. It's just like because they're so shifty and they can get free, sometimes all you can do is foul. And it's a good thing to have. I think we have multiple players like that on our team, but especially one who's just a rookie who we drafted,
Yeah. We did all of this week without so many key pieces still, especially at receiver. We did it without OBJ. We did it without Bateman.
Rashad.
We did it without Ronnie Stanley at tackle. It was really nice getting back Linderbaum. Especially with the run game. I think he was a huge help in that. And then Justice Hill, oh my gosh, dude. He only played like 7 snaps, and it just seemed like every time he was on the field, he was making something happen. He was being so explosive. And I'm telling you what, he is a difference maker on our offense right now. Defenses really should be scared of Justice Hill right now.
Well, I think it's the combination of him and Gus Edwards, who also had a pretty good game yesterday, that just makes him so dangerous because Gus is going to run through people, but Justice is going to just outrun you, and you don't even expect it. And, I remember when we first got Justice Hill, like it was the same year that the Bears took David Montgomery, and there was a lot of talk about both David Montgomery and Justice Hill being like these underrated guys who were going to come out and dominate, and they had in the preseason. Obviously, David Montgomery did. Justice Hill never really got that chance. But he
had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, he had a lot of injuries. That spark has always been there. He's somehow managed to stick around with the team, so it's not like we don't see something in him. And now that he's getting his chance to play, he's doing a damn good job.
Yeah.
Just like
I've always been on his side. I've always been a fan of him, no matter how many times fans thought that we were, crazy for keeping him around. But I've always thought it seems like whenever he touches the ball, he does something that the other guys can't. I am excited though to hopefully see Keaton Mitchell in the backfield because I think he's like that perfect combination between Gus and Justice Hill.
Oh, we could have a 300 monster.
he'll have the fresh legs, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then
another player that a lot of the fan base didn't really like or doesn't really like, our friends complain about, but who's really, really stepped up and shown a lot of progress is Brandon Stevens.
Yep.
Brandon Stevens.
Definitely talk about him when we get to defense. He's whew.
Yeah.
But the other guy, dude, 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews. Where's he been?
Welcome back.
He's finally healthy. He's finally 100%, and it was like a different guy out there.
You want to know something funny? The 1 week that Mark Andrews catches touchdowns for me in fantasy is the 1 week I'm going against the person who had Lamar Jackson. Like, you got to be kidding me. I'm 1-3 right now.
Well, I think he's on an upward trajectory now that he's healthy. As long as he stays that way, I think your fantasy team should be good.
Yeah, we'll see. As long as I don't have to play against Lamar again, because he is going to continue to tear it up.
That's my guy. I got him on my team.
I have Brock Purdy. So I originally had Justin Fields, but then he turned into freaking.
You should have played him this week.
Right. No. Well, he's not on my team anymore, so not my problem.
But anyways, anything else offensively?
We did a lot better with the penalties this week. We still had a few, but I think that especially in crucial situations, like we were a lot more penalty free.
Yeah, penalty, just the self-inflicted ones. I mean, we did have a few. Morgan Moses seems to get a false start every single game.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. It's every game, even if we're at home. But anyways, hopefully we can get that fixed.
I think other than that, though, yeah, well, that's pretty much it on offense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to defense. I mean, I think the obvious thing to say with the defense is that Roquan Smith is just the leader of this defense and plays with this pissed off mentality. And it's so contagious. And the 2 people that I think really feed off of him are Patrick Queen and Jadeveon Clowney, and they are just balling just as much as he is.
I think also a little bit Kyle Hamilton. I think that Kyle Hamilton realizes how safe the middle of the field is, and it lets him be a little more daring, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle Hamilton's been playing really well the last couple of weeks, especially against the Colts. He was just the main wrecking crew on that. But the other guy that came in this week that made an immediate impact was Kyle Van Noy. I mean, he played a good amount. He played like 40% of the game. And I mean, he had a couple quarterback hurries. He batted the pass down to one time. I mean, I think he's going to be huge for us. I just remember in the preseason, we were like, man, we need to get Kyle Van Noy or Jadeveon Clowney. And now here we are with both of them.
That's a good and a bad thing, my friend.
It's good and bad, but I mean, obviously we didn't want it to be because of injuries that we signed someone, but you know, hopefully we at least get Owe back, and then maybe Ojabo comes back too, and then we have
we'll
Bowser. We got 5 edge rushers that we can just rotate in and out, and none of them should be tired at all.
Not to mention our tackles can also rush the quarterback. We've got Matabike. We've got
Washington had a sack this week.
Washington, yeah. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, once we actually have healthy people, I think we can have one of the most consistent, maybe not the best, but one of the most consistent pass rushes in the NFL. Because
that is something that we did not think we were going to say about ourselves this year. Like, coming into the season, we were so worried about that.
Dude, but things seem to be, knock on wood, but things seem to really be falling into place for the Ravens, kind of the way they did in 2019. Just like with the division and with the conference. Like, right now, the Ravens are the number 1 seed. I know it's only week 4. That doesn't really matter. But if the season were to, end today, we would be the number 1 seed, which is something we're used to early in the year. But what we're not used to early in the year is having this much of a lead over the rest of our division. And it's just kind of like a Twilight Zone feeling, you know? It's like almost too good to be true. But at the same time, it's kind of what we've been saying over the last few years. We've got it. We've just had a bunch of crap go against us, you know? Maybe this is the year that we can just string it together. Fingers crossed. We have a big 3 weeks coming up.
It's just such a week-to-week league. I mean, last week after the Colts game, we felt completely different, you know?
Right. Everyone was talking about how the Browns are going to run away with the division.
So we can't get too low. We can't get too high. So we have to just keep where we are, you know, keep trying to get better, and we should be fine.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say, I don't care if they had Deshaun Watson or not. We were getting after DTR.
Right.
It wouldn't matter if Deshaun Watson was back there. DTR is known for running. He's probably more mobile than Watson is.
And if Watson has a bum arm, a bum shoulder, that's worse.
And so, I mean, we had 8 quarterback hits. We had 4 sacks. That was crazy. And then we get 3 interceptions. Now, maybe Deshaun Watson doesn't throw 3 interceptions, but either way, I think our secondary is starting to find the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I know Roquan Smith probably had 2 that he had a chance to catch too, so we could have had even more.
He dropped a pick 6 and he dropped like a interception as well.
So Brandon Stevens and Kyle Hamilton each had their first career interceptions, which was cool. And then Geno Stone followed it up with his second interception of the year. So he now leads the team in interceptions, as he was, but now he is the sole leader with 2 interceptions.
Sweet. And maybe we get Marcus Williams back next week, and he can come and take that crown from Geno Stone.
He's got how many? He doesn't have any, so he'd have to get 2
halfway through the first game.
Yeah, so he still needs to get 2 to catch up.
Well, next week might be an opportunity if he plays, because looks like we might be going up against Mitchell Trubisky.
I don't care if we're playing Trubisky or Pickett. We're picking him off.
Right.
I think if I'm so they came out and said Pittsburgh's Pickett has a bone bruise. It's not like a ligament or sprain or anything. It's just a bruise. I mean, that could be pretty painful though, too, especially if he gets hit there. So if I watch the tape from this week and see how badly we got after DTR, I'm the Steelers. I'm thinking, all right, let's start Trubisky this week. Let's let Pickett heal up to get 100% because they have their bye week next week after this game. That's what I would do if I were them. I think that we will probably see Trubisky, but yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
But anything else defensively?
I think it would be very daring, very ballsy of the Steelers to start Pickett next week.
Oh, after you watched that film of us versus the Browns, just DTR, it might be a full body cast after that game.
I forget who it was. I think it might have been Roquan Smith, but there was one sack where we just shot through, and someone else got hurt, but I thought it was DTR who got hurt on the play because he just got rocked and his head hit the side of the ground, and it was like
that was Roquan. That was Roquan, wasn't it? Yep. And then I know they lost their starting center against us. Cleveland did.
Felt bad for them on that because that sucks.
And then, like you said earlier, Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. I think Zadarius Smith did end up coming back in, but I don't think he stayed in like as much. Like he wasn't as big part of the game as he was supposed to be. I think Myles Garrett, though, I think he might have something longer term. It seems like he sprained his ankle pretty badly on that one.
Based off of what he said, I feel like he thinks he'll be back just fine.
I mean, he was able to come back right away. I just think, after, the game and you let all that emotions and the adrenaline pumping through you, your ankle starts swelling up, and then you're like, oh, crap, this is a little bit worse than I thought.
Right. That's true.
Who knows? He's a freak athlete, so.
But it gives me confidence to know that we went up against a team of that caliber. I mean, their defense is no joke. They did make us look a little foolish on offense quite a few times. As good of a game we had, we also had some bad moments. I take solace in the fact that we were able to look so dominant over a defense that is normally that dominant. And it gives me comfort knowing that the next 3 weeks we play very tough defensive lines, but I think we can get by. I'd be most worried about the Titans just because that's in London. As far as D lines go, because the Lions will be at home and the Steelers, we see them every year. So I don't know, that Titans game really does worry me, but I am at least comfortable knowing that we can offensively scheme against like monstrous D lines, because that's kind of always been our issue.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it'll be tough this week if we don't have Morgan Moses, with him being faced up with, or Falele will be faced up with TJ Watt. That's not a matchup we want. So I think that'll be something to really look at. But other than that, we should be getting Ronnie Stanley back, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
I would think he's back this week. The fact that he practiced last week, even limited, he should be back this week.
I
So
think
hopefully
anyone
we
who
get him
last week that didn't play this week will be back next week.
Yeah. But final thoughts, I would say it's a great win. It was nice to have a comfortable win, not be stressed out. It felt like by the end of the third quarter, we had pretty much wrapped the game up, even though the entire second half, we were the most conservative play calling team offensively. And I'm fine with that as long as our defense is playing like it was. So it was good to just go 2-0 in the AFC North. We're undefeated in that. Got to keep it up, go 3-0 in the division next week, sweep the division for the first round of games that we play them in. But I do think we still, like you said, we have room to improve. We got to clean up a few of those little false start penalties like Morgan Moses, a few turnovers with the fumbles. We can't have that, because in the close games, that's the type of stuff that's going to get you beat. So we got to clean those things up. Even though we win 28-3, there's room to improve. But we're at Pittsburgh next week.
Got a big episode coming on later this week with our Steelers week preview.
Yeah, big episode. We'll have the film room study going back to look at the Cleveland game. And Michael, are you going to have your new segment ready for us this week?
If not this week, then certainly for the London game. I want to explain to the audience this segment. I was inspired by like Sports Center. It's kind of like a weird thing, but it requires a costume that I have not been able to get a hold of. I had ordered the costume along with a microphone for this podcast, and there was just a massive mix up. And so now I have to just go either wait another week for the reordered crap to come through or just find something here in town. But with the costume, there are Halloween stores around, so I'll probably just stick my head in and see if I can figure something out, throw it together. Either way, I'm excited. It's going to be a fun segment. It's coming soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. And then we'll also have your top 5 Raven players segment, maybe have some changes from this past week.
Yes, my power rankings. I also like to review the All-22, or at least the highlights. I've been a little lazy with the All-22 so far this year, but I would at least like to just look a little more in depth before I update that. But I have a feeling that there will definitely be some movement.
Definitely be some movement. Good.
I don't think Mustafa will be on the top 5 if he didn't play.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be hard for Mustafa to stay up there when he didn't play any snaps.
Right.
Did he play in the end of the game? Maybe. Yeah, he got 3 snaps. Okay.
Oh, good for him. Okay, maybe he's still fit.
Anyways, it was great recapping this one with you, Mike. I think we had a great game this week. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, do everything you can. Give us all the support. Yeah, on Spotify and YouTube. Hit us up on both of them. And then what we're going to start doing is a weekly questions segment. If you guys start reaching out to us with questions, we'll drop that in the description. But yeah, other than that, we'll see you all later this week. And we'll be going over the upcoming preview game for the Pittsburgh Steelers for week 5.
Already. Holy crap.
I know, right? See y'all.